Hello, my name is Draymore and welcome back to the Wizard's Arena, my fellow Planeswalkers. Today we are tackling red commander cards from Zendikar Rising. First up is the Intimidator, a colorless and a red for a 3/1 warrior that cowards can't block warriors. You can spend 1 to activate one of the 3 following abilities. You can't do them more than once. 1, give him +1/+1, make him a 4/2. Spend a red, make a thing your opponent controls into a coward so they can't block your dudes. Spend 1 to give target warrior trample. Doesn't even have to be this guy. You can give a really big warrior trample. He's okay. There's a couple warrior decks running around, especially the 5-colored one. I can see him slotting into different decks. He's not super ridiculous. He's limited to being a human or a warrior. That's about it. More warrior than anything. Our next guy is the Leyline Tyrant. 2 colors, 2 red for a 4/4 flying dragon. You don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end. Very important. Red. When Leyline Tyrant dies, you may pay any amount of red mana. When you do, it deals that much damage to any target. I've heard over and over people crying, this is not red color pie, it's a color bleed, blah blah blah. Omnath, the first time we were in Zendikar, had a very similar ability and it was green. That is a neighboring ally color. It's not that big of a deal, guy. It's not like it's getting a white or a blue mechanic. Calm down. Like, for real, people. This guy, I'm only going to give a 5/2. He is a cheap dragon. If you're getting a little bit mana shorted or whatever, mana flooded, not enough creatures, you can store some red mana so every other turn you could do a thing. But usually with dragons, you're tapping out. I think it's just going to be good in mono red dragons. 5-color dragons, not so much. It's just pretty much middle of the road. Interesting new idea, but that's about it. Our next card is the Magnetic Channeler. Colorless and a red for 1/3. As long as there are 4 more instants and sorceries in your yard, +3/+1. Tap, ditch a card, exile top 2 cards. Choose one you can play till end of turn. It's a weird, janky card draw mechanic. I don't see you running it in a Spellslinger deck. It's okay. It's not total fire, but I feel it's pretty close to it. It's only a 2. Like, it's just not worth it. Like, it's a 4/4 potentially for 2, couple turns past turn 2. It's like, eh. And you also have to fill your yard. Next, Moraga, Fury of Akuma. 4/2 red, 6/6 Minotaur Warrior. Now this is a warrior I can get behind. Each creature you control gets +1/+0 for each time you attack this turn. Landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control. If it's your main phase, there's an additional combat phase. At the beginning of that combat phase, untap all your creatures you control. Okay, so the only minuses I see here is he doesn't give him haste. And he might be better in a red-green deck, where you do things to make it so you can play multiple lands. Otherwise, you're going to have to play like some kind of red card to jam out lots of lands, and that's a little harder. Or Crucible of Worlds or stuff like that. But like, setting all that aside, he is amazing. He's the best red card we've gotten. He is the best red card there is. Red is like It's him and the dragon, and then like everything else. It's like, he's not the best card we've seen in the set. He's pretty good. He gets a 7. He's really solid, especially in a deck like if you sneak attack come out and you play a couple lands, or if you're playing the red-white melee commander from Conspiracy with melee, and then you cast like Relentless Assault effects, you can just start stacking combat, attack steps. It can get really out of hand really quickly. Our next card is the combo piece with him. Okay, so I cast him, he doesn't have haste, next turn. Okay, Nahiri's Lethal Form. I'll just spend all 4 mana I have, or 5 mana. I had 6 mana, play a land, 1 combat come in, tap all my lands, cast this for 5, sack all my lands, draw a card, and then I might play X additional lands. So, okay, I may play up to 5 extra lands. I draw 5 cards, if I had a land in hand, and I drew 2, so that's 3, which is reasonable. That's 4 land drops, 4 extra combat steps. Okay, we're going to town here. That's what makes this card better than some of the other things we've had for card draw, because there's a combo you can kind of quasi do, and it's not an exciting combo, it's okay. This is a 3. It's a weird draw mechanic and ramp mechanic for red. So I'm not totally sold on this card, but it's interesting. Our next card is Relic Robber. Okay. This is 2 in a red for a 2/2 hasted goblin. When it deals damage to an opponent, they get a 0/1 goblin construct that can't attack. Can't block. It can still attack. And at the beginning of their upkeep, if they control the goblin construct, they take a damage. This is just funny. I don't see you playing this to win. I see this being just funny. So instead of being total trash, it gets a bonus point for being funny. It's a 2. That's about all we got here. Funny golem making goblin. Our next card is Roland Vortex. Colorless in a red. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, it deals 1 damage to them. Whenever a player casts a spell with no mana was spent on it, they take 5, and you spend a red, and your opponents, all of them, can't gain life this turn. This is nice in the fact that you can slow down Oro life gain, white-black life gain, mono-white life gain with it. Narset, flip 4 free spells. There's a lot of good things going on here. And another good thing is it's 2 mana. I give it only a 5 though, because if you draw in a situation you don't need it, it doesn't have like cycle in or any of that stuff. So it's a dead card. It doesn't even cantrip in your hand. But it's really cheap mana. You read an enchantment like this red and you go, oh, it's going to cost like 4 and 2 red. It's just for one time in their life they made a cheap red enchantment. Shadow Skull Charger. Okay, he's 2 red and a colorless for a 4/3 trample haste. That if you didn't get a +1/+1 counter on him, he goes back to your hand. You can kick him for 2 colors to have him enter with a +1/+1 counter. New modified ball lightning. It's okay. It's just alright. It might go in a giant deck or a warrior deck. That's about it. it gets a 2. That's about all we say about this card. Moving on. Shatter, Skull, Smashing, which is stapled to the Mythic land. This is the worst Mythic spell there is. It's just the worst one. I had to wet the whistle. So, for 2 red and X, you deal X damage as you choose, divided among up to 2 target creatures or walkers. Okay. So I can't hit players with this. And if your X is 6 or more, you double the damage. Okay. So if I spend 8 mana, I can do 12. That's 8 mana. If this was like an instant spell, instant speed spell, I wouldn't feel as upset about it. You know, like, that's a lot of mana. And I don't, you know, yes, this is 1/13 of your life to play untapped. But, like, you're spending like 8 mana potentially to get rid of 2 blockers. Like, I just don't. Yeah, for 8 mana, you're doing 12 and 12 to 2 different creatures. It's not exiling them. Like, it's just not that good, I feel. Like, I could be wrong, but it just seems like, compared to other stuff we've seen, it's not good. Normally, I give it a 2. But because it's stapled to the land, it gets bumped up to a 4. It's better, but I'm not sure I'd even bother running this in decks. Like, unless it's like a 50-cent mythic, then maybe I would. Moving on to our next card. Valor, the Awakening. 2 and a red, rare, land. Instant. Put any number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your library and draw that many +1. This card is really good for a couple reasons. You can play this as a land. You can play this as an instant at the end of their turn, and you can discard any number. It doesn't have to be your whole hand. If there's like 4 cards in there just junking up your hand, you can spend 3 mana, throw 4 on the bottom, and draw 5. And it's just you. You know, yes, the disadvantage is you don't get to fill up your yard for reanimation effects. It's not what this spell does. But considering how versatile it is, yeah, it's a little awkward because you're giving up a land to do a draw, but, you know, straight up only getting rid of the junk and not everything is so good that this is our second best card. It's clocking in at a 6. So a nice instant land thing here. Our next card is Volagot Exploration. 2 and a red, landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled at the beginning of your end step. If there are cards exiled with the exploration, put those cards into the graveyard and then deal that much damage to each opponent. It's kind of a cross between Outpost Siege and Chandra from Kaladesh. It's like, okay, use this card, and if you don't, you get to throw it at them for a point of damage. Okay. And if they're silly and they disenchant it during your turn, you may play that card, even though it's been exiled, for the rest of the game. So, it's an interesting little red enchantment. It only costs 3, not 5. So, as a result, it gets to be a 5. Okay. And our final card is Wayward Guide Beast. For red, you get a 2/2 trample and haste. It deals combat damage to a player, return a land you control to owner's hand. Like, you're not doing this in Commander. It's not a goblin. You're not playing Beast Tribal red-green. It's a 1. Just burn this thing. You know, it's a 1 for 2/2 hasted red creature with a terrible drawback. Just don't play it. Well, my name's been Draymore with the Wizards Arena. Please like, share, and subscribe, and comment below. And if you're not following us, you can follow us on the Facebook. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. It helps us out a lot. And I'll see you guys all in our next video, which will be covering green. Talk to you all later. Bye.